Texas Comptroller Glenn Hegar, we're in Eagle Pass, Texas, talking about what's going on here in Texas, dealing with the crisis on the border, the number of people that have been flowing into this country for the last 3 years. And anybody knows here in Maverick County, everybody understands where Eagle Pass, Texas is from what we've seen in the last several years. At least from my standpoint as a CFO for the state of Texas, what does this cost me and you, the Texas taxpayers, to do the job for who? The federal government. The fact is, the federal government has not been dealing with the border issues that we've seen. As a landowner, of someone who has a ranch not too far from here, just 15, 20 minutes away from here, you know, the number of issues of people that we have coming through our property, leaving trash, whether it's breaking into your home, in your house, the lack of security and safety you feel with you and your family of citizens of the state of Texas. And then if we talk about, let's say, for example, the budget cost for us, the taxpayers. You know, if you look back several years ago, whether that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, the state of Texas would spend roughly about $800 million additional for DPS for security to deal with the drugs and the crime of the cartels flowing in and out of Texas. The last 2-year budget, the state of Texas stepped up and had to add in an additional $3 billion of taxpayer money to do the federal government's job. And now, this 2-year budget cycle, literally we were spending over $7 billion to do the federal government's job. And that's money that's coming out of my pocket, your pocket, or the citizens of the state of Texas, just in trying to secure the border to deal with the flow of people that are coming into this state, into this country. And then we're not even talking about the number of people that are on the terrorist watch list that's being captured here on the border, whether it's here or somewhere in the United States. You know, it's really interesting. I grew up on a family farm, and so we've been outdoors people all our lives, hunting, fishing. I've hunted along the border, and really, you've never had issues. You know, people come and go. They may travel through your property, may see a footprint or two every so often. My family's had this property roughly 15 years. Up until 3 years ago, we had never witnessed a person through our property, never witnessed a footprint across our property, and 3 years ago, the gates opened up. And literally, we've had people breaking into our house. I started carrying a sidearm everywhere I went from a safety perspective. My son and I used to night hunt. We haven't night hunted in 3 years. Why? Because it's a security issue. It's a safety issue. You know, there's many years like the hunting season before last, it was so bad with people coming through. Literally every 2 to 3 times you're out hunting somewhere, morning or evening, you would have people coming through your ranch. The number of water bottles, backpacks, shoes, trash laying around, literally ride around and pick up bags of trash every time we're here. So one, the fact is, it's your private property. You wouldn't expect people to come through your backyard, to come into your personal house, much less to have safety issues there. Now let's be serious. There are people that want to come to this country to better themselves from an economic perspective. That's why people move to Texas. We have people come to the great state of Texas every single day. You know why? They want an economic opportunity for them and future generations. And we want that. However, there has to be a process where you just can't have droves of people coming in with lawlessness, litter, and there is a humanitarian crisis going on down here. And that's what in part disturbs me more than anything else, is the federal government has turned their back on that humanitarian crisis. You have to deal with the human nature of it, but you also have to deal with the security aspect of people in their own private property that is endangered. The fact is, our law enforcement people in the state of Texas, whether it's local law enforcement, whether it's our Border Patrol, whether it's our National Guard, they signed up to do a specific job. They're having to expand the job of what they thought they were going to do to deal with this issue. And you know what? I've not had one of them complain to me. They may be tired. They're exhausted, but they continue to get up and do their job every single day. I'll give you an example. Here earlier this year, we're driving through the ranch. We see 2 people. My son said, "Who are those 2 people?" I back up. It's 2 Border Patrol agents. I stop, tell them thank you. They're chasing a few people through our property, give them direction where I expect they're going. I ask them, "How many years have you been in service with Border Patrol?" One 13 years, one almost 13 years. Where are you from? And then I tell them, I want to say thank you on my behalf of my family. We appreciate the service that you're doing. And I was literally shocked because one of them said, "Well, I appreciate you saying that. I haven't heard that in a while." And I really can't imagine, think about doing your job day in and day out, where there's a huge number of people somewhere in this country don't appreciate the job that you're doing. You and I, no matter where we live at, what is one of the basic things that we expect in our community? Public safety. We expect our communities to be safe, where we can live and raise our kids and have our families. And the fact is, when you don't have that, that's pretty bad for all communities. And so, you know, our men and women, they're doing their job every single day. They're getting up early, they're staying up late, and they're working really hard and really tired. But unfortunately, the federal government needs to step in and do their part. But it's not the men and women, it's the leadership issue. My role, essentially I'm the CFO for the state of Texas. So what that really boils down to is my agency, we're expected 3 constitutional responsibilities. What is the direction of the state economy going? The state economy, Texas today is the 8th largest economy in the entire world. Think about that, an amazing economy that we have in Texas. And just a few short years ago, we were number 12. So we've grown to be from number 12 to number 8 in the last decade, in other words. So the Texas economy is remarkable. My job is to give legislature direction on where we think that economy is going, what are the revenue standpoint, to pay the bills of the state of Treasury. But we've been expanded to a large range of issues. You know, whether that's trying to help our policymakers figure out how do we deal with organized retail crime in the state of Texas? How do we deal with the opioid abuses, the crisis that's dealing with in our own community? So our duties have expanded, but the bottom line is trying to make sure the state of Texas continues to move in the right direction economically so people can do their job and wake up and want to be in this state. But you know, the fact is, as we continue to move forward, Texas is a great place to call home. It's a great place to do home. We just have to continue to have the policies where it's safe for our communities, our citizens to live, and people have that economic opportunity. What's going on in Texas along the border should not be happening. That starts at the highest leadership level of the federal government. It is a humanitarian crisis issue. These are human beings, but there's also, if you look on the bad side, and you talk about the number of people that are being arrested that are on the terrorist watch list. They had to do a lot to get on the list to be recognized by the federal government, and the number of people that are being arrested today compared to 4 years ago is astronomical. And so the most important thing that people can do across the entire country is get the right information out, make sure that those communities and those areas recognize Texas has an issue. Texas is part of this nation. And the fact is, Texas should not be left alone to do the job for the rest of the country and for the federal government. And the fact is, I think that's first and foremost, recognize the issue, appreciate the issue, and while it may be hundreds or thousands of miles away, guess what? It does impact the communities that you call home, or it will one day. First, I want to say thank you to the law enforcement men and women that are doing their job. They have a thankless job. You look at the media today, they don't appreciate the job that they do, and they're out there keeping our community safe. When you wake up and if something bad happen to you yesterday, you are to say thank you first and foremost. So that's number one that people need to be doing, but also making sure they know exactly what is going on and how do we solve the problem, and hold your elected officials accountable to solve those problems.